Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to interviewing you. We look forward to interviewing you. Can you tell us a little bit about your company and your name and your company and
Yeah, I'll give you all my information. So
all
I'm
right.
Lydia Allen. I own Sugar and Slice Bakery on Main Street in St. Charles. And we specialize in custom cakes, puddings, birthdays, all kinds of custom items. And we also do walk-in business on Main Street. So we sell grab and go items, coffee, and various little treats that you can just have one of, or you can buy a lot and take it home.
It was a very impressive website. I did check it out before we scheduled the interview today, so thank you for sharing that. Looks like a very exciting, and I know that you are extremely busy because the holidays right before Christmas
Yes,
is a
a
very
little
busy
bit.
time for you. So we'll
Yes.
get through this interview fairly quickly and get you back to work. All right.
All right.
Yeah. So one of the questions that I like to start out with is, if you had to start from square one in your business, what would you do differently? Going back and reflecting where you are today to where you were before, what would you do differently?
So that's kind of a loaded question, but I'm only 4 years into running the storefront, but 10 years into business as a whole. And I think one of the things that I would review, knowing what I know now, is
Mhm.
having a better plan of growth. And I don't think that's easy to prepare for. I will say,
Mhm.
like, you think this is how it's going to go, but it never goes
Mhm.
that way. And so I have ideas and I wish I would have sat down more and been like, okay, this is what I'm doing, but this is the end goal. And how can I run my business to get there? That would probably be like my biggest thing because I actually started my business with no business plan. I did not have one when I opened up. So I kind of just
Mhm.
knew it was gonna work and it thankfully it did. So, you know,
That is not uncommon. So that's great.
no,
Many
no,
people start out with the same way. So great. Thank you for
yeah,
sharing that.
yeah.
So how many employees do you have today that you work
Right
for you full
now,
part-time?
I have 24 total employees, in our busiest time of year. Then we average about 18 the rest of the year. And I have five full-time employees, and the rest are part-time, either retired employees, college students, high school students, or moms that just work a few days a week.
Gotcha. Great. So what have been your biggest learnings as an employer since you began in business, right? So you started out probably by yourself, and now you've
Yes.
scaled to over 20 plus employees, part-time and full-time. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, I've learned a lot about various parts of the business, and one being how to run a business. I was just a baker that wanted to have a bakery, and I'm learning how to be a business person. If I wanted to be an accountant, I would be
Mhm.
an accountant, but I'm going to hire an accountant to do that stuff. Like those are the things that I have learned a little bit about. But I also sorry, I also think that learning comes from the bad experiences that we have go on, and a lot of the mistakes that I have made, not knowing that you make them until it's too late. But I'd say the biggest, in my opinion, the biggest thing that I have learned is to listen to your employees, because they are the ones helping you make your money and help your business and your dream come true. And if you aren't if they aren't happy with you, then they're never going to be happy in their job and not going to be able to do what they want to do here. And I think a lot of my employees have really appreciated me for that, because a lot of them just get pushed under the rug. But I want to know about them. I want to know their life. I want to know their goals, because if we can share all that together, it can be something, a brand, a very great brand could be created with all these ideas and the smart creative people I have around me. And that's probably honestly my biggest thing.
Great. You answered a little bit of this, but I have another question as it relates to employees. What qualities do you look for in employees, and how do you, when you hire them, and how do you work to create a foster a positive, productive work environment? You touched on it a little bit, but when you're
Yeah.
hiring employees, let's talk about that, and then how, when you bring them on, you're able to create that environment.
So I go back to when I first applied for my first serving job when I was 19 years
Right.
old. I had no experience doing anything. And
Right.
the man hired me off of personality. He said, I can teach you how to be a server, but I can't teach you how to be nice or be a good person. And
Right.
I have taken that and kind of ran with that. And I meet people and I never really ask, like, what have you done? What do you like to do? What are you good at? Do you have experience? And a lot of the time, I hire based off what their goals and ambitions are, and if I feel like they are a teachable employee. And a big thing for me is, I started so young and it was very hard for me to get a job at a bakery because I
Hmm.
was already running a business at a young age.
Hmm.
And I, I think a lot of people, well, like me, I couldn't get a job because I was good at what I was doing and I wanted to do better, but I also wanted to see um what it was like to own a bakery and run a bakery. And so really what I do every day, I don't know if I'm doing it right because I never got to see that. And so
Hmm.
I want to do what I wanted someone to do for me when I wanted to see if this is what I do for a long time. But I take them in and I do like a little working interview. I do strictly working interviews actually. I don't do formal sit down interviews anymore because
Hmm.
I think being a creative person and being somebody that's hands-on, it's very hard to tell somebody what you do.
Hmm.
And seeing them actually do it can be totally different than we say, oh, I can decorate a cake, I can make cookies. Well, can you? Like, can you actually, let's see it, and then they get a feel of if they like the environment. And if they do, great. If they don't, they don't. And I take that and really try to take their goals and ambitions and things that they want to do and make that a priority by having quarterly meetings with my employees and following up. And I think when you asked me about how like having a good positive work environment, I tell everybody when I hire them that if there's a problem, I need to know about it because if there's a problem I don't know about, I can't fix it. And the last thing that I want
Right.
is you to leave because of a problem I didn't know about. And I
Mhm.
learned that a lot in my first 2 years. They'd be like, well, I don't really like this, don't like this. I'm like, well, I could have fixed it if you would have told me about it. So I like to I do my best. Not everybody's perfect with having a positive work environment, but I feel like if you actually listen to what the people around you need and want, it can make the biggest difference and ultimately how everybody feels about coming to work every day and being able to do what they want to do.
Great. Thank you very much for answering that question. So we shift a little bit. What are some common misconceptions about running a business and how do you address them? So a lot of people
Well,
have a
first,
persona, it's all wonderful. So tell us a bit about the
yeah.
misconceptions that you
Yeah,
can
I
talk
would
about.
say the biggest one is, "Oh, you must have so much money." Like, that's the thing that I'm always like, "Yeah, no, I don't." Well, I opened up my storefront when I was 21, and
Mhm.
people knew me as the girl who bakes since she was 15, and I
Mhm.
had always just baked and did things, out of the house, and then I brought things to school, and then when I was in high school, I went part-time senior, and I was able to continue running my business, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, she's just making a lot of money." I'm like, "Well, I'm selling a lot. I'm also purchasing everything." And,
Right.
that's it's enough that it was enough for me to live at my parents' and be able to, support myself, have a car, pay my bills.
Right.
But as soon as I opened up the storefront, I had a lot of people that friends would be like, "Yeah, somebody said, oh, Lydia must have so much money." And I'm like, "Oh, well, you guys probably all make more money than I do, like, if you actually look at it." And it actually frustrated me for a long time, but then I realized, kinda take it as a compliment because they think I'm doing okay. Obviously, they're
Right.
like, "Oh, she's doing good." But,
Uh-huh.
I would definitely say that that's probably the biggest one to me is that's a misconception. And I I don't I'm just used to it at this point, but I also would say as a young female opening up my business, I'm often mistaken for being, weak or somebody that can be walked upon. And when I opened up my storefront, I feel like I was taken advantage of in multiple areas because I did not know what I was doing, but I knew enough to know that like that wasn't right. And my floor shouldn't be that expensive, or I know those things shouldn't be that price. And I would, argue back a little bit. But the biggest thing was that I was a young female opening up a business, and people thought that they could just, take advantage of that situation. And sometimes they still try to. I'd say that is very frustrating, but my age does work against me sometimes, and I want to prove to people that you can be any age doing these things and managing a big tribe of people to do exactly what that they can do what I'm doing, and I want them to know that. So, yeah, I'd probably go down to those 2 things as my biggest misconceptions of business owning in my shoes. I know it's different for everybody, but in my shoes, that's how I felt it's been over the last 4 years.
Thank you. What do you attribute your your growth to? The volume of growth that you've had so far. What do you attribute that to?
A lot of it is new product. I think over the last 2 years, we've really been able to push a lot of good product out. Now that we're good at our basics, we're able to expand on our stuff we do good already. We're able to do more now that we have enough experience on other things. And I also think that creating a brand really helped establish who we were, because you go from a little bit, you open and you're like, oh, well, this is what I want to do. And it doesn't really work that way. But establishing a brand, especially on social media these days, we don't have a crazy social media following, but that is where my business started. And so we maintain that as much as we can. And I think the consistency of customer interaction through social media and just creating something new and exciting and keeping up with trends. I think trends are very popular and a lot of people miss out on that stuff. And that's really what people are like, oh, this place has this new cute thing. Like people love the cute stuff they can put on social media. And so it's fun for us to do that and then see what people do with it. But yeah, I think that, and then I've also involved myself in a lot in the Cotterville Weldon Spring Chamber of Commerce over the last 2 years. My membership's been with them, and that has really been positive to my business because I've met a lot of people and have grown my professional circle a lot. And that's not something I was ever really involved in previously. But I have found a nice little group of people that I should say big. It's a very big chamber now, but a big group of people that all always have your back for
Mhm.
anything that you need and have given me a lot of really good business as well.
Great, great. So, as a young person who started their business at a young age, 15, right?
Yep.
And you really started doing it a lot of full time, I assume, in your senior year, as you talked about. So, what are some of the things that you do to balance your personal life with the demands of running your business? You know, you're a young person who needs all that social interaction with
Yeah.
everyone. How do you do that? How do you balance that with everyone?
So I don't really believe in work-life balance anymore. Because
And,
it's hard. It's very hard. And as I've gotten to know a lot of business professionals that own food businesses, you have those real conversations of, so what are you doing to take care of yourself? And I noticed that a lot of us neglect it. And then there's a point where we're like, we have to start taking care of this because if
right.
I'm not whole, my business can't be whole. And I'll actually tell you, I'm not a really big New Year's resolution person, but I did tell myself that this year was the year I need to start taking care of myself. Because if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. But I
Mhm,
am a very social person, and so it's very hard for me to I'll be, like, in the bakery for 80 hours, and I'll be like, "I don't wanna
right.
go home, I need to go do something," and my mom's like, "Go home and sleep," I'm like, "I can't," like, the
Mhm,
decompression period that I need is my
right.
socialization, and I love doing things by myself. I have 2 dogs that's
Mhm,
my happy place, or me and my dogs, and I
mhm,
have, um the work-life balance is a lot of me just making sure that when I leave work, I'm not working at home, and that's
mhm,
hard, especially this time of year, but, and my staff helps me with that as well, like, knowing that they're making people capable of doing the job all the way helps me not have to worry about them too, and knowing I can leave, but I am working on the life part, so
mhm.
I can't say it's quite there yet, but I have a lot of energy for what I do, and my life is my business, and I love it so much, and, at some point, you have to yell at yourself and be like, "Go do something else," and that's where we're at.
So what would you tell someone who is young like yourself, 15 to 18, that's in high school and wanting to open a business or is in one of the programs that's out there that teaches, entrepreneurship, etc. What is something you would tell them, the advice you would give them, because you've obviously been there, and
Mhm.
what would you tell them?
Well, I have a lot of kids that I've actually talked to over the years. I employ a lot of kids 15 to 19 years old, and a lot of them don't know what they want to do with their life. And I think it's very challenging to know what you want to do, and I will give my opinion to them. And I didn't go to college, so that's not something that I'm really specialized in. I can't give advice in that department, but the one thing I do tell them is if you want to own a business, it's hard. It's really, really hard because I sugarcoat things for a living. I don't do it when I talk to
Mm.
people. And I tell them every time that it is hard. And if you love it, it won't matter because it'll be so rewarding what you get to do every day. And yeah, it's exhausting. Like today, I didn't want to get here, but you know what? I had to do it and I got here and I'm having a great day. Sometimes it's the getting out of bed part that's hard every day. But I think you have to do your due diligence on how much is this going to cost me? If I don't make money, what does that mean for me? And I basically give them questions and I say, answer these questions for yourself. And if you want to give them to me, then I'll help you talk through them. But you have to cover every step. So you're not going to
Mhm.
leave yourself broke. You're going to leave yourself in a really, really bad position personally, financially. Because like me, I don't have a resume to show anybody. I don't have experience except running my own business. That, yeah, I could probably go get a job if this never worked out because I ran a business for so long, but I don't have anything on paper to show anybody that I can do things. And so I think it's really good to get experience in everything that you want to do and go work for people and do those things and then open up your business. That's usually my
Right.
steps of advice, telling people those things because you need to know if you're going to like it. Do you have the money to do it? Is it going to work? What's your backup plan? I don't have a backup plan, so I really hope this
That's
works.
that is great advice, and thank you for sharing it. So you're in the food business, which everybody loves, and bakery business. So tell us a little bit about exactly what your business does, and tell us a little bit about the holiday season because this is probably the Super Bowl time of the year for you.
Yes, definitely.
Tell us a little bit about some of the unique products that you're making right now.
Yeah. Right now, well, we always do cakes and cupcakes, sugar cookies, and those various items. And we usually do a lot of custom items, but December is basically just Christmas everywhere for a whole month. So
Hmm.
we have a decorator that specializes in our sugar cookies. She does all the decorated sugar cookies. And this time of year, we try to keep them in the case as long as we can. We do little Santas and reindeers and those fun little cookies. And then we also do hot cocoa bombs right now, those
Hmm.
things that were wild 3 years ago that people went crazy
Hmm.
for.
Hmm.
And um we do a lot of like meringues because there's a lot of people that come in like from out of town this time of year, the tourists, and they do a lot of like we do a lot of allergy friendly type stuff trying to help those allergies and be like, oh, we have at least one option for you here. And so our meringues, we do that for our macarons are our most popular item. They're Italian macarons. They're little sandwich cookies with like filling in the
Hmm.
middle. We do a ton of those right now. But I'd say definitely our top item is our cookies. So we do like a giant, just like this big. It's a giant cookie. And we do chocolate chip and the sprinkle are the favorite. Kids like sprinkles. So we have a lot of
Hmm.
kids down here in the weekends. So we do a lot of fun kid flavors. And then we also do pre-orders for the holidays. We do cinnamon roll wreaths and cheesecakes and pies, all kinds of just fun, colorful Christmas things. And last year we started incorporating corporate orders in. So we do small business,
Hmm.
we call them corporate, but small business branded items. So we print
Hmm.
on macarons and cookies and put them on party trays. So their logos
Hmm.
all over. And those are really fun. Those are probably my favorite because I like seeing what businesses order from us. And it's just really fun to be like, oh, we did that for them. And those are probably my favorite, but that's our mainly what we spend the last 4 weeks of the year doing. It's all the fun Christmas stuff.
So how long has your storefront been open?
4 years. We opened up
Okay.
in November of 2019.
Okay. So I wanted to ask, obviously before you probably had, call-in orders, to-go orders, things like that, where people are calling and doing pickups. How has that altered? I know probably this time of year you're in downtown historical St. Charles, so it gets tons of people walking through there certain times of the year. It's probably really good, but which part of your business has picked up the most in the last year? Post-COVID, because now people are actually getting out and not staying at home all the time, right? How's that worked out for you?
Yeah, so I'd say it's actually been our first year of real numbers because we
Hmm.
opened 3 months before COVID. So our first year was a COVID year, our second
Mm.
year was a post-COVID year, and the third year I feel like was still a
Mm.
mildly post-COVID year,
Right, right.
partially with weddings.
Mm.
When I was out of the house, I was doing about 30 weddings a year
Mm.
and by myself, and that was one of my biggest markets. And then when COVID happened, all our weddings canceled for the first year, and then
Mm.
they were all
Yeah.
rebooking for the following year, but it was all like little stuff. And so this year we saw a really big growth in our weddings and our
Hmm.
custom cakes because it wasn't like we weren't making cakes or wedding cakes. It was just small. It was just tiny little cakes for little parties. And now we're
Mm.
back to doing those 300-person weddings. And so I think we were on track to do about 45 to 50 weddings this year. We still have a couple left we're finishing up this month, but that has really grown for us this year. And then our walk-in traffic through the fall and winter is significantly up this year because people are just more comfortable going out again. And winter is really pretty down here with all the lights and everything. And then fall's just fun, the good weather. But definitely in the warmer seasons, there's not as many people that are down here. And like July is, I think, our worst month on Main Street because it's
Hmm.
just so hot. Nobody wants to come and eat a cupcake
Right,
while it's 100 degrees outside. Like, I
right,
don't blame them at all. So,
right.
all over, there's been a growth in the business this year, which is amazing,
Hmm.
almost more than we can handle. And
Hmm.
uh, we're trying to figure out what we can do in our current space to be able to maintain. But we've also seen, I did leave this part out. We did start wholesaling to a few
Hmm.
restaurants in the area this year, which has been a great blessing in the growth of the business as well. And it's opened up our eyes to maybe a department we didn't know that we'd be in the area and the community. And we've had a very great relationship built with this restaurant and well, these two restaurants, and definitely hope it continues to grow.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for the interview today. I want to
Yeah.
let you place in one last commercial there. Give us the name of your business, where you're located, and how people can follow you on Facebook or wherever you'd like to share your website.
Yeah, so Sugar and Slice Bakery on Main is what we do every day except Tuesdays we're closed. And then we are located at 519 South Main Street in St. Charles near Salt and Smoke and Braden's, if you're familiar with the street. And we do sell online at sugarandsliceonmain.com, and on our social media we post our daily menu so you can see what flavors and fun items that we have every day there, and then also
Mhm.
look at all our fun custom items too.
All right. Thank you very much. We're very proud to interview you today. Thank you.
Yes.